Alrighty, attention in the pits. All racers, report to the staging lanes. The show is about to start. All racers, report to
Towards us?
No, we're good.
No, right, but I'm saying the screen on the camera.
Oh,
We can flip it around so you can see it.
well, it's black. When I
Is it because
in.
you got that?
Yeah. Good evening, everyone.
Hello, everybody.
Hello,
And
everyone.
as you can see, we got our third amigo back.
He's been out making money on Wednesday nights. I don't blame him.
Yep.
Yeah, it's been pretty busy.
That's good.
Fortunately, got switched from road to
Jason does stump grinding. So any of our local people here need a stump grind out, he's your guy.
Yes, sir. But anyways, tonight's topic will be, and if nobody wants to talk about it, that's fine too. I got emails. We got plenty of other stuff to do as well. So, but tonight's topic will be horsepower compared to the wheel to the crank, and how much do you lose with certain transmissions and.
So really what we're going to kind of do is I want to first of all, what's the reason that you go to a dyno? And then how do you prepare to go to the dyno? And then, like my son's talking about, we're going to discuss the difference between a chassis and an engine dyno. So that's the progression I see. I don't know what.
Yeah, no, that's
okay.
That's fine. Yeah.
So what we're gonna first of all, we can discuss the difference between an engine and a chassis dyno. Obviously, an engine dyno is exactly what it says. You put the engine directly on a docking cart, and you couple it to the brake on the engine dyno, and it has computer software. Some of the old dynos were mechanically operated and had pressure gauges and stuff, and they were not as accurate as the newer dynos with software. But anyhow, it measures your torque, and then horsepower is a calculation. It's a formula. It doesn't actually technically measure horsepower. It measures torque, and then use a mathematical equation to convert it to horsepower. And like I said, an engine dyno is where you dock an engine on the engine brake, or dyno brake. The chassis dyno, of course, is whenever you have the engine in the car already. And chassis dynos didn't become real popular until what? Probably, I don't know, maybe 15 years ago, 20
Yeah, I was
years.
gonna say it's gonna be like late, maybe 2005-ish is when I started noticing.
Yeah, it's probably about 20, 25 years ago that chassis dynos become kind of popular, and it's actually a good idea. It's kind of a better simulation of what you're going to have at the racetrack or on the street, because of the fact that it's, you're losing your horsepower through your drive line and your underhood heat and all the things that, contribute to horsepower loss after it comes off the engine dyno.
Which, I mean, they have fans that you can put in front to simulate you actually driving. So it is a very almost accurate, I guess you can say, simulation of you driving down the road.
Yeah, a lot of guys dyno with the engine or with the hood open,
Yeah.
which lets engine heat out. And so if you really want an accurate number, you want to leave the hood shut. And then, like my son said, they got big fans that you put them in front of the radiator to keep the engine cool. So it's simulating like you're driving down the road.
And honestly, I mean, as a safety standpoint, I think you'd want to dyno with. I know we dyno with the hood open, but you come flying off that thing, you kind of want to steer a little bit.
What do you mean? So
If it goes forward and the hood's open, you can't see shit.
That's when you
Jesus, take the wheel.
Hold on.
Hopefully you're smart enough to hit the brake pedal.
But if you put the hood down, at least you can steer a little bit.
You mean you can see while you're running people over?
Well,
right?
yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, I know who to
got
point
it.
the car at.
Yeah, right. Yeah, who you're gonna run over?
Yeah.
Oh, there's my dad. I'm gonna run him over.
Exactly. See, now you get it.
Now I understand. So,
But I had to make sure he signed the will and everything over first.
how do you even know you're in the will?
I know I am. Because I get you drunk and I make you put me in there. I ain't dumb.
Is that right?
The truth comes out. You got a little bit.
He only wants me for my business.
No, I just want you for all the toys you got in your business.
So yeah, obviously the difference between an engine and chassis dyno is you're gonna simulate in car on a chassis dyno with what you're gonna see driving down the road. Now, I'm probably getting ahead of myself a little bit, but a lot of guys like to use a percentage factor to determine how much horsepower you lose from going from the engine dyno to a chassis dyno. I don't think that's real accurate. I mean, it might get you a ballpark idea, but the thing of it is, think about what's going on there. Not every chassis is the same. Not every rear end uses the same amount of horsepower to drive it. Not every transmission uses the same amount of horsepower. Between automatic and a manual, there's a difference. Torque converters absorb a lot of energy, so there's just a lot of things that, to me, I don't think you can use like 20%. I hear a lot of guys say, well, it's like 20%. That makes no sense to me, because if you have 20% of 1,000 horsepower, that's 200 horsepower difference. If you have 20% of 100 horsepower, it's only 20 horsepower difference. You telling me that's accurate? Doesn't seem like it to me.
No.
So I just don't feel that that's an accurate way to do it.
So with the engine dyno, it has that big drum that the flywheel bolts onto. And how do you go about, like with a chassis dyno, you set up the car's weight, you set up the tire diameter, and you hook all the things up, and you got it spits out that calculation. But with an engine dyno, how do they calculate that calculation?
Well,
I should say, how do you set that up? Do you do it by cubic inch, or do you tell the dyno, okay, I'm expecting it to make this horsepower, so they end up putting like this amount of pressure on the motor?
well, that's a good question. So really, how it's done is they got a friction coefficient, and it is determined by the bore size and the stroke of the crankshaft. So, and it does a mathematical formula for you. You don't have to do it; it's already part of the software. But yeah, it does. It's not the same for every engine,
Right.
because every engine's got a little bit different friction factor. So that whenever you're setting the dyno up to run your engine on dyno, you have to punch in that data.
Okay. Because
Just like we do with the chassis dyno.
right,
Same thing, yeah.
and I figured as much. There had to been something. I've never seen an engine dyno in person work.
Oh, really? I
Yep.
thought you'd been in the engine dyno with me. Are you
Nope.
sure?
I'm positive.
Huh. Okay.
Nope.
Andrew, your brother-in-law, he's one up on you. Then he's been
Yep.
in the engine dyno with us.
Yeah,
a
but
couple times.
I got back even because I've seen it on the chassis dyno. And he hasn't.
He had. Well, he's watched our videos. But so, what? Talking to comments here, I see there are some comments coming in. What do you guys want to go to the engine dyno for, or the chassis dyno? I had a good idea why most guys want to do it, but I want to know from you guys what your reasoning would be to do that.
So with an engine dyno, do you well, for instance, like our engine dyno, when we get it up and going, are we going to have it in a climate controlled room?
Actually, probably not. We're going to use atmosphere.
Okay,
Yeah.
and that will give you better tuning and better readings, right?
Well, it will not necessarily give you better tuning, but it'll give you a more, in my opinion, more accurate reading.
Okay.
Because if you artificially cool the air, then obviously the horsepower is going to go up. And so that's not really, to me, a fair analysis of what's going on. Like today, it's pretty cool here.
Right.
It's probably around 70 degrees.
Yep.
And but the thing of it is the the dyno has that software with a weather station.
Right.
It measures today's weather, and it'll make correction to the horsepower for you automatically. You don't even have to do it; it's part of the program. But if you artificially cool the air and say to 60 degrees, and it's only 72, or and it's 70 today or 72, you're going to get a false number. It's going to be a higher horsepower number because engines make more power with cooler air.
But wouldn't, not necessarily for your type of application, but for like pro stock guys, would that climate controlled room be a better scenario for them so that way they can simulate like the dry heat in Arizona and maybe the more moist air in North Carolina?
Well, I don't think they have a way to actually dehumidify or humidify the air. So
Okay.
yeah, I don't. But the formula or the software on the dyno will tell you all that stuff too. So it's most of them guys. What they do is they use shop air. Their vent or whatever sits over top of their carburetor, instead of going outside, draws air out of their shop.
Okay.
And so if their shop's 70 degrees, then that's the air the engine sees. And if it's dry because the heater's running or whatever, that's what it'll see too.
Right. Well, just because like that would be like an edge to have.
Well, yeah, there's a really cool video on. I think I shared it with you of IndyCar engine on the dyno, and they were actually simulating the way it runs around the racetrack. Did you see that?
Yeah, it was on like a gyro type thing.
Yeah, and it tilts the engine so when it's going around the corner this way, and I mean, that is pretty. Or it's going up a grade or down a grade.
Yep.
That's a really cool video. And I like watching it simply because that engine's screaming at 20,000 RPM, and it sounds pissed off.
Yep.
I like it.
Well, because for like me, because like how do you tune a motor for a customer that is in California?
Well, so you got to be a little bit smart about it because what you're going to do is your jetting and your carburetors are going to be different.
Right.
So if I got a California customer, believe it or not, most of us across the United States are pretty much the same altitude, within probably 700-800 feet. And 700-800 feet, it does make a difference. Don't get me wrong, you can tweak it, but I always set everything up a little bit on the rich side, so people don't hurt their engines. But but if you have somebody that's in the mountains, like what's that NHRA drag race they do in the mountains? I can't remember.
Yeah, it's in Denver.
Yeah, in Colorado, I believe. Yep. And they're at like 5,000 or 6,000 feet.
Above,
I mean, it's above sea level, obviously. And the engines are way down on power too. If you watch those cars, the NA cars, they're way slower.
Well, even the turbo cars.
Even the turbo cars. The ones that don't seem to get affected very much are the lower cars and the nitrous cars. But yeah, so to answer your question, I have a customer that I do carburetors for all the time over in Nevada, and I know his altitude, and I do the jetting for his carburetors for his altitude. And here we're in Summit County, so most of our drag racers around here race at around 1,200 non-corrected altitude. So you get a hot day like Norwalk. When we go to Norwalk in July and August, it's freaking 3,600 feet. Right. So you would have to lean the carb down just a little bit on those days to get the same power out of it at 1,200 feet on a cooler day. So yeah, I mean, I adjust for whatever altitude they're at. But like I said, most people are right around 1,200 to between 800 and 2,000 feet, and 1,200 seems to be the happy medium.
Well, the reason why I ask is because like an engine dyno and especially chassis dyno, because chassis dynos, they're really subjected to, like, every time I see a chassis dyno, it's by a garage door. Mm-hmm. So, and if you're in Colorado, you're going to have different numbers than you were if you were in Ohio.
Oh, yeah, absolutely you will. Yeah, but the dyno software corrects for that.
So the dyno software, okay, so it knows the altitude and all that stuff. So so you get a pretty consistent number then.
Yeah, and your correction factor, that's an ideal situation, which I think is right around 70 degrees and 0 feet or right at sea level. That's what the standard is with like 60% humidity. That's what it corrects it to. So you might, like around here, we might only see a correction factor of like 0.15 or somewhere around there, where if you're going to up in Colorado, where you're at 6,000 feet, it might correct it like 0.4. You know, it'll correct it quite a bit.
Gotcha. Now, is that still true horsepower then?
Yeah, I mean, if it was running at sea level, that's what it's going to run.
Okay.
It'll make, yeah. It does get skewed a little bit. There's a lot of things that can affect horsepower. If it's raining outside, then there's a lot of water particulate. It's going to hurt the horsepower. If it's really cool outside, it's going to make the horsepower artificially higher. So
Right, because it's going to cool the charge.
right, exactly.
So, Jason, you want to read some comments or?
So we had a couple. Got John Monin. He said he did testing with the big rigs because they had to make sure they had the horsepower up to speed and tested everything what they need.
What kind of big rigs is he talking about?
Peterbilt.
Oh, okay.
Like, just to make sure it was all verified, like it was close to what they're saying. Okay, we need to be at least 300 some horsepower for those,
Right.
And they have to meet what they're putting on their sticker, pretty much, probably.
Now, he said ABS sensor. Now, is there an ABS sensor that's like I don't know what the A would stand for, but like a or what's the B word for
Barometer.
Yeah, barometer sensor.
Well, so like a map sensor does that, and you have a barometric sensor too. So,
Barometric, that's what I was looking for. Now, did they have like a barometric sensor, or is he talking about the ABS, like brakes ABS?
Yeah, I don't know what that stands for on a diesel, to be honest with you. It's altitude something probably, if I had to guess. Maybe altitude barometer sensor. That could be what it stands for.
Just making sure the wheel speed matched the dyno speed. Okay, that makes sense.
Yep.
Oh, okay. So that would be like an ABS
Yeah, that
sensor.
is an ABS sensor. Yeah. Yep.
A few other guys said something about just test and tune just to see what they can get and see if they can tweak it to make sure everything's even right, just to make sure they got everything put together.
So that's why they would go to the dyno. Yeah. So, a lot of guys, we build most of our engines, probably 95% are guys that are street drivers or, street jockeys, whatever you want to call it. They're hot rodders. They just want to have a good sounding cam and be able to run 12s on the street. Most of the stuff that we build is pump gas and it runs in the high 11s. Unless some guys don't want that. Some guys just want a pretty conservative engine that makes 375, 400 horsepower, and they don't even care what it runs at the racetrack. They just want it to be dependable so they can get in their car, cruise to the cruise ends, and cruise home and not have any problem. But anyways, because of most of my customers are street guys, when I get one that says, hey, I want to dyno my engine, first thing I ask them is why. And the reason is because a lot of times what guys want is they want to
Wow, they're friends.
They want to brag about their horsepower, and it's inevitable when you go to the engine dyno for the first time, and a lot of times it's their only time that they're going to go to the engine dyno. There's so many factors that will affect horsepower reading, and they're disappointed. They get disappointed because they thought, oh my God, this thing's going to make 500 horsepower, and it might put out 412. Then what they do is they get pissed off at me. They don't understand that you got to take and tweak it. You got to play with the timing. You got to play with the carburetor. Yes, I've got a package that is capable of 500 horsepower, but we've seen, and Joe Bass's engine, the 455 that had the Ram Air 5 heads on it, he picked up, I think he told me like 100 and he told us last week, was it or a couple weeks ago?
Yeah, it was a couple weeks ago.
It was like 120 horsepower, just changing the carburetor.
Yeah.
So if you don't bring any extra carburetors and you got a bad one on the engine, you're not going to know. and you didn't bring one to swap it out and try, you know, you're going to be disappointed. You're going to be pissed off at either the engine builder, or you're just going to be depressed because your engine didn't make the kind of power you thought it would make. So most of the guys, if they don't want to really go to the dyno and spend 2 or 3 days tuning the engine and making sure that your air-fuel ratio is correct and your timing is correct and your valve lash is correct and all the things that you're going to do when you're on the dyno to extract the horsepower out of the engine, I tell them don't do it. You know, why spend the money and disappoint yourself? Because I'm telling you, it's not going to go as you think it is. And all we ever see on the internet is after they've been to the dyno 4, 5, 6 times and had all the problems and they got it all worked out. And then they show you the glory numbers. But it didn't start that way. And every once in a while, somebody will go and they'll do good the first go around, but it's rare. It really is. I've been doing this a long time, and it is rare to hit a home run the first time on a dyno, especially with a new combination.
And also, too, remember that just because you go on the dyno and you get that motor to make 500 horsepower and you can do tuning and whatnot, doesn't mean that you are going to be running the motor at that. You will tune it down a little bit because more than likely, if you keep tuning and tuning and tuning, you're going to be running at the
Ragged
highest,
edge.
Yeah.
You're going to be on the ragged edge.
So, and you don't want to run a motor like that or an engine like that. You want to
Not for a
dial it
street
down.
car, no.
Yeah.
For a drag car, it's one thing. But
Well, yeah, if it's straight drag, yes.
Right.
Yeah. But for a street strip car, no. You're going to tune it back down so that way you don't have any problems.
Right.
You know?
Right. We always set them a little bit on the conservative side. I always make them just a little bit rich and pull a couple of degrees timing out of it. And believe it or not, those two things, just those two things alone can be worth 40, 50 horsepower. So, you know, and we do that because most guys, they don't really need that extra 40, 50 horsepower. Like I said, most of the engines I build, 455s or 461 strokers or whatever you guys want to call it. The stroker thing to me is another whole topic we'll talk about. But anyway, you got a 455 Pontiac with iron D-port head on it and a decent Edelbrock intake and the heads are ported in a cam. They're capable of making 475 to 525 horsepower. You know, that's just where they land. And we detune it just a little bit, so it's probably closer to the 475 number. But that's enough to make the car run 11s. My dad's a good example of that. Grandpa's car, his Grand Prix.
Yep.
We never did do an engine dyno on his engine.
Nope.
But we did the chassis dyno on his car, and it made 365 horsepower at the tire.
Right.
And his car runs 1170s at 116, I think.
Something like that,
Yeah. And it weighs right around 4,200 pounds. It's a heavy car.
Yep.
So, 365, let's say that you lose 35 because you've got a Ford 9-inch, and Ford 9-inches take more horsepower to drive because where the pinion comes into the ring gear at. All right, so like a 12-bolt or a 10-bolt, it comes in about the middle of the ring gear. On a Ford 9-inch, it's down low, and the contact pattern or the contact area between the ring and pinion and the pinion and the ring gear is much broader, and it requires more horsepower because it's got a bigger friction point. So anyhow, that was a long explanation for nothing, but you get my point. So a Ford 9-inch will take 35 horsepower, where a 12-bolt might only take 30 horsepower. So there's that thing I was talking about. I can't believe that there's a percentage factor to determine horsepower from engine to chassis dyno. So, but anyhow, let's add 35 to the 365. Now we're at 400, right? And the turbo 400 in his car probably requires, with the torque converter he runs, I bet it's probably using up about 35 horsepower. So we're at 435 there, and then the drive shaft and the rear tires, because it's weight, inertia weight, Probably absorbs about 15 horsepower, maybe something like that. So, now we're at, where were we at? 435?
Yep, 435.
Another 15, so we're about 450. And then underhood heat, because of it's a black car and the hood's closed on that thing. And normally when we run that thing as a Norwalk, which is usually typically 32 to 3,600 square or altitude. So now we're talking, we're probably losing another 35 horsepower because of that. Well, maybe not that much, maybe 25 horsepower because of that. So now we're like 475, like I was just talking about. And that's typically where the engines land that I build. And you only need 475 horsepower in a 4,000-pound car to run 11s.
And so make your car lighter, you go faster.
Right. Well, what had happened through the years, guys sit around and bench race like we do here on the internet now, and they all brag about how much horsepower they're making, and it's all bullshit. It's artificially inflated horsepower with beer.
Yep.
Well, and that's just the dry run, right? I mean, you're hooked up. You're hooked up to the dyno. You're doing that, and then every car weighs different. So you got pounds.
Yeah.
So
Yep. So
it adds up.
We got a customer of ours that he's got a small block Chevy that I built for him. It's a 415. He tells everybody 350, but that's here nor there. And
that's just the easiest number you can remember.
Yeah, and 3,000 pound car, and I know how much horsepower this one makes at the flywheel and at the or at the rear tire. That car runs 940s, about 140 to 142 mile an hour, and his horsepower at the flywheel is like 660, and at the rear tire it's 5. I think it was 515.
Okay.
Chuck's car. And I think that the rear tire is 515. So it lost about 140, right around 135 horsepower, whatever.
Right. And that's the thing too, like, what's a more accurate number to you? Chassis dyno?
You know what the most accurate is to be?
Well, I know the track. But.
Exactly. Go to the track. That's the most accurate dyno on the planet, because it's going to tell you what you're doing on that day, them temperatures, and everything is real. There's no artificial numbers there.
Now, here's a question I always wondered. Why is it important to know torque and horsepower?
What do you mean? I'm not following you.
As a racer, why do I want to know what that is?
Well, you don't necessarily want to. I mean, guys want to know what the torque and horsepower is, but you want to know where the torque and the horsepower come in at. That's what you want to know. So you want to know the.
So therefore, you're doing the dyno and the chassis dyno to figure that out. It's not so much. Because, I mean, every time you go, oh, man, I ran my car on the chassis dyno, the first thing comes out of anyone's mouth is, oh, what was the horsepower?
Right, exactly. And you're going to be disappointed because the tire horsepower is going to be way lower than the crankshaft horsepower. And so, anyways, the biggest reason that you want to go to the dyno, any dyno, chassis, or, well, probably an engine dyno is more what you want to go to if you want to determine where your peak torque and peak horsepower numbers are. And the reason that's important is because you want to know what torque converter that you need if you're going to have an automatic transmission, or if it's going to be a stick shift car, what RPM you want to launch the car at. And then, of course, your horsepower peak is where you're going to shift the car at, so you need to know that number too. So,
Phil, third, he's kind of confusing me.
what?
By the way, Don,
He does that.
0.9876 horses to the mule, and he said he's got that backwards.
Yeah, he measures his horsepower. It don't come. Yeah, I was got to getting ahead of myself. His horsepower are mules. He doesn't have a horsepower.
Yeah.
He's got mule power.
Yeah. Which I think mule has more torque.
Yeah.
I think so too. I know they're stubborn.
Yeah. Well, they're smaller.
That could
so
be
they got,
why, you know
they got
what?
smaller legs.
Oh, their gear ratio is
Yeah.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like my bulldog.
That's right. They can pull a stump right out of the ground. But
Yeah.
They can't. They can't.
They
run
can't
very
run fast. They're geared too low.
Yep.
Or too high. I don't know how you want to look at it. But yeah, you're right. So, but yeah, so, you know, back to so another thing that we need to discuss is if you are going to go to the engine dyno or chassis dyno, it doesn't matter which one, make sure you're prepared. And what I mean by that is, you know, a lot of dyno shops, they don't want to dyno an engine they didn't build. And the reason they don't want to is because a couple of reasons. One, most engines leak oil, and you don't know that till after you run them, or coolant. So then what happens, you get it on the dyno, you spend, I mean, it's not an easy process. It's not like you're just going to bolt it on the dyno in a half hour. It doesn't work that way. You got to hook up electronics, you got to put the exhaust on, you got to get the thing level on a cart this way and this way. There's a lot goes into putting an engine on a dyno.
It's borderline like putting it in a car.
Yeah, but a little more intense actually, because you got to make sure it's all level and even and everything. So when you know, so it's going to take you a better part of a day just to get the engine on the dyno, and then you're going to spend the rest of that day, that one whole day, warming the engine up and making sure everything's you know, gelling together and not having any issues. And then if it's a brand new engine that hasn't been run before without on a run stand like we do it, I always run all our engines on a run stand before we go to the dyno. And the reason is because of what I'm explaining to you right now. What I always do is we retorque the heads after it's been through a heat cycle. We readjust the valves, and we check the timing, make sure that it's pretty close, and we do the fuel curve on the carburetor on the run stand. That way, when we go to the dyno, we eliminate probably 2 or 3 hours of screwing around on the dyno, wasting our time trying to figure that stuff out. And so if you're going to go to the dyno, make sure that all those things that I just talked about are done ahead of time, so you're not wasting the dyno operator's time. They will be patient and they will put up with it, but you're going to pay for it. Dyno session now is anywhere from $700 to $1,200 for a day, and so if you want to pay for 2-3 days, have at it. It's going to be expensive.
Now, do they charge per time you do it, or is it just as long?
No, just for the day. And then some operators, what they'll do is they'll charge you for if they work on the engine and you don't. So if you're, you know, you take your engine there and the dyno operator's doing your valve lashing and jetting your carburetor and stuff, you're going to pay the guy for his time unless you're capable of doing that. So you're going to save a little bit of money if you can do that yourself. So all things you got to consider if you're going to go to the engine dyno. And that's one thing nice about buying a package that has been pretty well thought out and done multiple times by your engine builder or yourself or whoever, because really going to the dyno, you don't need to. You can tune the engine in the car as long as you know where the shift points in your torque converter needs to be, and rear gear ratio or whatever. So, but where was I? I don't even remember now. Got to talking about something else.
Jude Schnabel said, in his opinion, knowing horsepower numbers and etc., knowing the quarter mile times, to me indicates how well I'm managing the power and how it's getting to the ground. Mm-hmm. And he's the one that would have good input on this topic as well, because he owns chassis and engine dyno.
Engine dyno, that's right. Yep. So yeah, I don't know if Jude's had any of his engines on the engine dyno and then in the car, but that would be an interesting. Yeah, he would be a good guy to tell us what the difference is. And him and I had discussed that before too. And at the time that him and I discussed it, I don't think he had a lot of data, so he wasn't able to draw a conclusion. But He's been at it for a while now, so he might be able to tell us.
And it says yes. And then you want to read Mark Marshall's comments there, Jason, or you want me to? See him right around.
Oh, okay. So it says standard atmosphere is measured at sea level, 59 feet, 29.92 barometric pressure. And then as the temp goes up, density goes down and power goes down.
Right. Yep. Yeah, so the warmer the air, the less horsepower you're going to make. And you'll see that too. I mean, if you race a lot, you bracket race a lot, and you know what your car's capable of, and it's pretty consistent. On a nice cool evening, it might pick up a tenth and a half, 2/10. If it's really out of tune and you don't have it tuned right, you got too much fuel in it, you might pick up 3/10. I've seen cars do that before.
Here you go.
I felt the third. I'm on the Gulf of America, and since the name changed, I've noticed a lot more hot air.
Perfect. That's gonna take some horsepower then.
But so, like with my truck, I have a 2019 Chevy Silverado, the old body style, but same motor as the 2019 newer body style. 5.3 liter. I got the 8-speed transmission in it. And
That thing sucks up some horsepower.
I know, yes, it does. I know that and I don't know if Jude's has any experience with this or not, but I've seen guys, they tune them on the dyno, but then they also drive them and tune them because you get two different variations, and so to get the shifting and everything right, they have to drive them on the street to tune them.
Yeah, so that is something that is, kind of, there is a funky dynamic going on there when you're on the chassis dyno. And what he's talking about is you can tune the truck on the chassis dyno, no problem there. But think about what you're doing. Typically, what you're doing is you're getting in high gear and you hammer the throttle and then run it till it reaches its peak and then let off and you get a horsepower number and torque number. But it doesn't really simulate what you're doing on the street. What you're on the street, as you guys know, you're the trainee's downshifting, upshifting. You're not at a full throttle. You can't drive your car on full throttle. Well, some guys do.
Yeah, some guys. we have a few.
Yeah, so that wear out brakes a lot, but yeah, but that you're not supposed to drive the car on the road full throttle all the time. So you have to go back and tweak some things after you chassis tune it. So, and the point you're making is that's the reason why. So,
now, is that for every car? Because I thought it was just because the transmission in that truck sucks.
Well, that transmission affects it a lot. You got an 8-speed automatic transmission, and that thing probably shifts between 3 gears within 20 feet.
Yeah.
And it's that would probably be a big pain in the ass on that thing. But yeah, but like a Turbo 400, it's probably not too bad. And if you're good on the dyno, on the chassis dyno, you can run your car like. As a matter of fact, I think our chassis dyno, and I got to get that all updated, but you can actually do a 1/4 mile pass on that thing.
Yeah.
And so it'll start from whatever your launch RPM is and run it down a 1/4 mile. That's pretty cool.
It is cool.
And with Brandon's car, man, I can't believe the mile an hour we were seeing out of the rear tire on that.
Yeah.
At 8,000 RPM.
Yeah,
it was up there.
It was like 200 something mile an hour, I thought.
I don't know if it's that high or not. It was getting close to 200 mile an hour though. I think it was like 180 or something. And that was in high gear, of course.
Right.
So John Mona said, without that, it's easy to tune drivability, hot starts, and other daily driving situations is a lot of work to tune with EFI. Yeah.
It is, that's the other thing too. And I get guys call me all the time because we got a chassis dyno and they want to know what I charge to tune their vehicle. And right now we're not doing it because I don't trust my dyno enough to give accurate numbers. So I'm not going to charge somebody for something that I don't believe in. So anyways, once we do get that all set up and ready to rock and roll, how I'm going to do it, because a lot of places around us are what, like $1,000, $1,200, something like that. Yeah. But for $1,000, $1,200, I know that sounds like a lot of money, and it is a lot of money. Don't get me wrong, but there is absolutely no way that they're tuning your vehicle the best that it can be tuned for $1,200.
Well,
it's not enough time.
That $1,200 though, like with a buddy of mine, Ryan Peterson, he had his truck tuned because he put a cam in it.
Okay.
And it's the same like my truck. And that $1,200 buys like a couple extra days or a change of a tune.
Okay.
I don't know how many times they changed the tune, and I don't know if Ryan's watching tonight or not, but they will change the tune, and it doesn't cost them any more extra money. Now, again,
so in other words, what you're saying is they'll let you bring it back one time for
something
free.
like that within a certain amount of time. Ryan was saying.
Okay.
He goes, you can't drive it for a year and come back and say I want it changed.
Yeah.
For free.
After you change everything in the engine,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. No, they ain't gonna do that.
I think you get like 14 days or something like that.
And the probably reason they do that is because, like we were just discussing, it's hard to tune the thing at just wide open throttle. You have to drive it. You need to take it out and drive it.
So, and what his problem was, he had a hesitation every time he was at a stoplight and he would start to go. The engine would almost stall out and then go.
Right. And you're not going to see that on chassis dyno unless you do them kind of driving loops on the dyno, and you're not going to get that for $1,200. Just not going to. Right. It's $1,200 gets eat up real fast in a day because of the fact that you got, first of all, you got credits you got to buy if you use an HP tuner. Yep. And so you're going to have to, depending on the vehicle, there's 2 to 4 credits there. Yep. And then
those used to be $50 to $100 a pop. I don't know what they are now.
Yeah, I think they're $50 a credit. But so if you the minimum $100 in credits, up to $200 in credits. So that comes right off the top, and then the dyno operator, the guy that's actually doing the tuning, you got to pay him. So most of those guys they don't work cheap. They're going to want to make $30 an hour or better. So you spend 5 hours on there at $30 an hour. There's another $150 off the top, and the shop has to make X amount of dollars. So I just don't see if you I just don't understand the whole money thing with that yet. Because I haven't been involved with it, but
I know they charged Ryan, and it was Pro Car, and they charged him. It was like $1,100, I think it was, when by the time it was taxes and everything.
Right.
And he drove the truck for a couple of days and called him up, said, hey, I got the hesitation. It's almost stalling. They said, okay, bring it back. They had it for another day. And they did all the changes and whatnot to make it run right. And he didn't have to pay for that.
Yeah, so, and honestly, probably all they're doing is making maybe 3 or 4 hits on it. They're just checking the air-fuel ratio and making sure that it's not doing something stupid. They're not actually physically tuning it like what you think,
like a fine tune. They're making it so that way you can drive it and everything works like it's supposed to.
Yep, and get it close, and then you can tweak it from there. So again, it comes down to dyno time and how much time you're willing to pay for. I think how I might do it is I might charge by the hour and let them tune their own vehicle on there, and then. Which I got to look into the liability with that. I was
going to say insurance.
Yeah, I don't know how that's going to work if my insurance company.
I'm sure Jordan would be yelling at you right now.
That's our attorney. So, but yeah, we'll see. I got to look into all that yet, but maybe if I'm behind the wheel, they can do the tuning, and I do the driving part. But I don't know. I got to learn all that. But so again, dyno is only it's a tool, and you need to utilize it as a tool, not as a bragging right. And that's what everybody wants to do.
Well, and that's why I asked, because I already knew the answer because I've asked you many times.
Right.
But, why is it important to know this stuff? Because there is a reason why they have the dynos and stuff. It's not just so us cavemen can walk around and go, oh, look at my horsepower.
Well, some people,
Yeah.
People actually do use them to, tune their vehicles. Even because like the dyno you bought off of that guy, he was detuning the diesel trucks, right? For the dealership?
No, he wasn't detuning them. He was doing some kind of a carb certification or something.
Oh, okay.
So. But yeah, they and a lot of guys will bring a truck into a dealer and they forgot to pull the delete back out of the computer, and
Right.
of course the dealer can't sell it that way. So he was fixing a lot of that kind of stuff.
Okay, that's what it was. Yeah,
Yeah, so he'd take the delete back, put it back to stock.
yeah. So I mean, you can use a dyno like that, even. I mean, so
Yeah, dynos are a very valuable tool if they're used properly. If they're not used for bragging rights, if they're actually used for tuning, they're a great tool. And I have an engine dyno. I've had it for years. I just haven't had the room to put it to use yet. But
hell, you had that dyno or engine dyno for
oh,
20, 30 years.
long time. And I paid a lot of money for it back then. It's a Stuska dual brake on it. It'll handle up to 2,000 horsepower.
Because I remember when you were at the Mogador shop on Gilcrest Road.
And it takes 3-phase power, and I didn't have it at that
Yeah.
shop. That's why I never.
Yeah, you had 60 amps.
Yeah. For the whole building. My compressor took 30 of them.
Yeah.
But
run around cutting things off just to get through.
Oh, yeah. It worked.
Yeah.
Because, you know why? Because we had Federal Pacific fuses. You know
Yeah.
what those are?
Yep, fire starters.
Yeah. Them things don't trip. I don't care what you do.
They just keep going and going.
It's like putting a piece of copper in there. You don't
Yeah.
even have to worry about it.
Nope. You get 100% power all the time.
That's right.
We got quite a bit of.
Yeah, go ahead, Jason.
Joe said he don't charge enough for dynos. Well, it's a hit and miss. Depends on where you're at, I guess.
Well, it depends on your area. There's absolutely no doubt about that. But it's anywhere from $600 to $1,200 is what I've heard.
It depends on how desperate and how.
It
The
depends on
person
how
that's
many are in
running
the
it.
area.
Yeah. So I mean, if you're the only one, jack it up a little bit, Joe.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not trying to rip everybody off, but if you
Or you gotta make it,
you got to make it fair for you and
gotta
the
make-
customer too.
gotta make money, and also not only that, the dyno, know
Right.
how to tune. You have the knowledge. These people that are doing it, they might know some, but they don't have all the knowledge.
And it's unless he's doing it for a hobby. Now, if you're trying to make a little bit of money on it, you gotta have it right.
What I like is Joe has the traveling chassis dyno.
Yeah, he's got the.
Well, then that's
he's
he's coming to you if he needs to. So
Yeah,
that's an
well,
extra
what
fee.
he does a lot of car show kind of thing, like what do they call that, coffee and cars or
Cars and
whatever.
coffee, yep.
Yeah. So he'll go to an event and then he charges, I don't know what he charges. We'll say $75, and you get like 2 or 3 pulls, and you're not doing any tuning. You're just seeing what the car does.
Just giving them numbers
Yeah.
that they have on the
Yeah.
screen. Yeah.
And so for something like that, you can't charge a lot of money for it, but
No, that's quantity though.
yeah. So you get 10 guys on the dyno and you charge $75. That's $750 a day. You did okay.
Yep. Yep.
That's not bad. It's not great money, but it as long as it pays for his gas and his time.
Well,
And he has fun
Not
doing
only
it.
that, I mean, you get to go to a car show
Yep.
and hang out with a bunch of people, and
And if and I think Joe.
I don't know if he drive the car on the dyno, or does he?
No,
let
he
the-
lets the people do it, which
Okay.
that kind of scares me.
That'd be
I'm
cool
not.
to see some pictures of that.
Yeah, he lets them do it, but anyways, the where's I going to go with that? I forget now. So You know, for something like, and if you create a competition, you know, and everybody wants to pitch in an extra $25 or whatever for the highest horsepower.
Gets the pot.
Yeah. You know, if you got a bunch of hitters there and you get 4 or 5 guys that say, yeah, I'll put in $25 and brag about open up the nitrous bottle or whatever.
Or you can, I don't know if Jude's chassis dyno will do quarter mile times or whatever, but, you know.
I don't know if his does. I think his software might
I would
do that.
assume it would. But, you know, he could do drag racing.
Or at least 0 to 60.
Yeah,
You know, that
0
would
to
be
60,
fun.
yeah. He said it's $100 to establish a baseline, usually 2 pulls.
So, I mean, how long does it take you to put a car on a dyno? I mean,
If you're good at it, about 20 minutes.
so I mean, if you do 2 pulls and, you know, another half hour, you're making $100 an hour. That's not too bad. But
Yeah.
that cover insurance.
But
costs,
you have to have
know,
everything organized. I mean, it takes realistically probably a half hour.
Yeah.
If you got help, you know, if you got a guy on the front of the car and one on the back of the car, you can do it pretty quick. If you know, if your guys are good and they know where to hook into the frame or onto the axle or
Jude
whatever.
just says he does 5 to 7 vehicles in an hour.
Yeah, so it's a little quicker than 20 minutes of loaded car.
And
So you're making good money then.
and that's loading, unloading, and running.
Yeah.
So he's pumping them out, baby.
Yeah.
And he does not do quarter mile times. That sucks. You could have people betting.
Yep. Sleepers. Don't
Yep.
show the horsepower and let them just do a quarter. And don't show the quarter mile
Right.
time. Just
Yep.
record it and then have everybody bet on it.
Yep.
Kind of like Street Outlaws. But yeah.
Yep.
But on dyno.
Right.
So that would be fun. But yeah. Now, I'm hoping, let everybody know it's here tonight. Hopefully we still got most of our audience on tonight. I'm thinking that we're going to have Mr. Ed Page and Eddie and Mike Mithen. I can't ever.
Oh, Mike's going to join too. Okay,
Yeah,
awesome. The whole Raven crew.
Yeah, the Raven crew. Maybe even Steve. We're going to have everybody together.
Perfect.
Yeah, so everybody will be.
Steve's like the offensive line for the, you know, like the Dallas Cowboys. You know, the Cowboys are great because, you know, you got Michael Irving and Troy Aikman and Smith. And you don't know anybody on the offensive line. But then, as soon as you name them, they're like, oh, yeah, I know him.
I know that guy.
Yeah, well, that's Steve.
And Steve's actually he's their like media what do you call those guys, promoter, you know what I mean? He's on it.
Yeah, and
So-
I mean, not taking anything away from Steve. I mean,
No,
he's
he's-
just as much as the team, but you know, it's like he just stands off this side. He's just quiet.
Well, he shares all their progress. So
Yep.
So hopefully we get to have those guys on next week. Hopefully the Zoom's working right and we don't get another thunderstorm.
Right?
But yeah, I just wanted to let everybody know that before everybody left tonight, so that they knew where they were gonna.
Yes, John, wear your Raven T-shirt.
Yep.
The Raven racing team's a great group of guys.
They are great
They have
guys.
an awesome car. Steve has an awesome car. Mike has an awesome car.
They all
Eddie
got-
has a Mustang.
I know.
But
That's
is
all right.
it powered by a Ford?
I believe, yeah.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah,
I didn't know if you put
believe it
a
is.
Pontiac or a Chevy motor
And
in
you
it.
know what? You can't blame him that you can buy those fairly cheap.
Yes, you
know
can.
what?
Yes,
he's
you
a,
can.
He's a young guy just starting out. He's got to start somewhere.
Yeah, but I know where to hit him at. You know, a little jab.
Yeah, boy.
Fortunately, I'll be missing that one.
Yeah, Jason
I'll
will be out of
in-
town.
I'll be in Charlotte still.
Oh, you going down south, huh?
No,
Well, he's
that's where I'm-
actually going over to one of the racing team, Ravens racing
Yeah, I'm
teams.
going to Connecticut, so
Yep.
I'm gonna go pick out some new machines for 3 days, and then come back, and then we're flying down. It takes us down to Charlotte for a delay, so when the show's gonna be
Oh,
on,
you're
I'll be-
flying. I got you. Yep.
So I'll be down there for 2 hours. So
Yep. Well, that'll be fun. Sitting in an airport.
Oh, yeah.
at least it'll be decent down there. So
Yeah. The weather will be good. Maybe you can get outside a little bit.
yeah.
Usually, man, they hustle you around that airport, though. You haven't got time to scratch your butt hardly.
No, the one I'm dreading is Chicago. So we got to go through Chicago going out there.
Yeah, that sucks. Yep.
But yeah, so they will be on for sure tomorrow. Or not tomorrow, next week.
Why, did they say something here?
Ed Page said nice to John Monin. But no, he didn't say anything yet. So no, that'd be cool to have Ed Page and all those guys, and hopefully
He's
they're
gonna try to round the crew up
Yeah.
and get them all so we can chat with them next week.
that'd be cool.
Yep.
We
Sure.
can talk to them about their because they are they still putting together the Raven, or are they done?
Well,
and get ready
that's
to go
kind of why I
testing?
want to get him on the show to share with everybody the progress and the trials and tribulations of.
Yeah, because Ed had a rough year last year.
Well, and it's racing. That's just the way it works.
Yes,
But
yes,
but the thing of it is, that's just part of the equation. We're not going to spoil it. We'll wait till
Nope,
next week.
yep,
But yeah, I want to get everybody to come back next week. And the Raven team's a big hit with these guys. They all like you.
Oh, absolutely. And if you guys are at Norwalk or what's the drag? Is it what's the dragway they go to?
I don't know what the name of. I don't know.
Ed, what's the name of your local track? If you guys go out there and you see them, buy a shirt from them, support them. That money goes towards the car and their lobsters dinners and and all their beer.
You know what? They probably don't eat lobster as much as what we would because they live right there. Where they
Oh
can
no,
get it,
I'm
right?
just busting chops.
Yep.
But no, it's a very good team. And they need all the support they can get because they're making.
It's expensive to rent a car like
Well,
that.
they're making 3,500 horse or 3,200 horse.
No, I don't think they're that high yet. I think,
Oh no, you're right. It's 20 something.
yeah, at the tire.
Yeah, at the tire.
It was I think around 2,000, which I don't know what that is at the flywheel. Probably somewhere around 22 to 24, we'll say. But but yeah, we're not going to spoil it. We're going to wait till they come.
I'm
next
just
week.
getting little teasers, you know.
Okay, a little. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's okay. Yeah, give them a little bit of.
Getting them excited.
Make them salivate.
Yeah, salivate.
Yeah, salivate a little
Yeah.
bit.
But no, great team. So if you guys see them out and about, they will talk to you and support them. So, and then Jude said, "Hey Don, I did just whistle my engine to confirm the actual compression ratio. We thought it was around 10 to 2 to 10 to 3, and it's actually 10 to 5, 10 to 6.
Okay, so 10.5, 10.6. Still a low compression engine. And Jude's, we're going to get him on the show one night, but I want him to get his engine back on the dyno, and then we'll do a Zoom with the engine sitting on the dyno. We can maybe even do a pool. And Jude's engine's pretty impressive, so we won't let too much out of the bag on that one either. But that'll be
So
a fun.
get your team together, Jude, and you guys are going to have
get
to
you guys together so
get
we
some
can-
cameras, mics, and
we can Zoom, man. We
yeah.
got to show off that engine of yours. That's a badass pump gas engine.
Yep.
And if it's only 10.6 to 1 compression, that thing is very impressive.
We had Hillside on there. Hillside.
Oh, yep.
CNC.
Go-
He
yep,
did
go
say,
for it.
He finally found the channel. And he's starting to lean towards Pontiac,
Oh yeah.
and he didn't realize how available the Ram Air 5s are.
Ah, cool. Yeah, we'll get us another Ram Air 5 guy. We're
Well-
starting to slowly accumulate these guys. We're getting quite a few Ram Air 5 guys, and it's we'll have a Ram Air 5 team that. And it's cool because all you guys kind of help each other out too. I mean, that was really nice of Jude's to dyno Joe Bass's engine for him and allowed him to play with it and spent a couple days on the dyno with him. So we definitely, drag racing is, well, any kind of racing, but especially it seems like the Pontiac drag racers, they're really good dudes.
And Philip III, I do have the emails, and unfortunately, we just don't have enough time. But I
let's
think
share a couple pictures.
all right,
Yeah, let's. I mean, these guys sent their pictures in. Let's show them off.
let's do it. Let's see here. So let me switch to here. All right, so this is from Walt Bainey. He claims that they're test pictures, but I think really he just wants to show bird poop.
I'm not sure what that is. Looks like a mess.
Got a bird issue.
Well, it looks like the bird didn't poop. It looked like he got a little excited.
It looks like you got on the seat, and I don't know what happened then.
So that's from Walt. All right. Let's see. John Monin. He's on tonight with us.
Yeah.
Right here is his beautiful.
Nice.
Is that-
68 Le Mans.
Okay. I was going to say, is that a Le Mans or a Bonneville?
No, it's Le Mans. Or
Okay.
a Tempest. Could be a Tempest too, but definitely.
Look
Le
at that parking.
That's crammed in that garage.
Made that
Yeah.
shelf just high enough.
Yep.
Ooh, stick shift car.
Cool.
And he's got himself an aftermarket CD player.
Yeah.
Beautiful black car.
Yep. I just love all the Pontiac bodies. I think, it used to be my favorite was just 65 GTOs, but not anymore. I like them all.
Oh, so he did a frame off restoration, or did he do? Oh, that's CAD.
Yeah, it's some kind of a CAD
Yeah.
profile there. That he's,
So he must be
he
making
made
his
some,
own.
pieces for his frame and stuff.
Yeah, he. Okay.
So he's a crafty guy.
Yeah, I see a 3D scanning in there. We're going to get to. So
Wow.
he had it all tore apart.
Yeah, he did. He had the frame out from under it.
So there's a 3D scan of underneath the car. That's cool.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah,
more
it
of
looks
John
like he did
Monin.
some serious upgrades on that thing. Cool.
Here's Philip the Third.
Uh-oh. Let's see what Phil sent us.
Another PT.
I hope not another
there's-
PT Cruiser. That's his Corvette.
That's his Corvette and his pickup.
The grocery getter.
Yeah, that's right. His Corvette is his grocery getter. I forgot.
Here's another one of another angle.
It's nice.
Man, how many cars you got, Phil? Good grief. I know you got a Grand Prix, too. There's four in that, or three in that picture, and one more is four.
Oh, so that's the one he just bought.
That's pretty
yeah.
clean.
That
Yeah.
is nice.
Yep.
He's down there where they don't use salt. They get it off the ocean, but they don't use it on the
I'll
road.
just keep it off the beach.
Now he's thinking about getting this.
Aw,
Uh,
what the heck you thinking, Phil?
you're only gonna get a couple 12 packs in those pack outs.
There's the. Is that the truck that he sent you?
Yeah, yep.
Okay.
I don't know if he bought that or not. He was talking about it. I don't know if he bought it or not.
He said, "Not mine yet."
Oh, okay.
Oh, I already clicked on that one. I don't know why. My first car. Oh, there you go. Oldsmobile.
Whose is this?
Philip Third.
He got a little bit of everything.
His first car, he said. And then back by popular demand.
The PT Cruiser. Oh, no, the Trans Am.
Oh, there. Yep, there's his Firebird.
Yep, that was his TA. That was a sweet ride. Too bad he didn't still have that one.
Yep.
That would be a great car for a Ram Air 5 engine.
Oh, yeah. I love those wheels, even on the GTOs. The honeycomb,
Yep.
and then there's his Grand Prix.
There's the black. Is that black or green?
That's black.
And you said that one's got a bad engine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The oil sending unit took a leak on him and he pumped all the oil out.
Uh-oh.
That means no.
There it is. PT Cruiser engine.
But look at that DOHC. You know what that stands for?
Yep.
That's a hot rod engine.
I ain't going to say it because Philip, he bought some stuff off me. I'll be nice.
Well, I was thinking dual overhead cam. I don't know what you're thinking. Yep.
Philip the Third.
Man, he's proud of that engine. Got lots of pictures of those.
Yep. 16 valve.
That's a hot rod engine.
Oh, there it is. The head.
In all its glory. Sitting on the bench.
Yep. Oh, dual cams. Those better be like
What'd he
stage
do?
3.
Did he share all the photos off his phone with you or what? Good grief. It's like we're looking at all his kids.
Yep. So now here's more Philip Third.
Yep. Yep.
Woo, new spark plugs.
There's Johnny. We're going to see little Phil here in a little bit.
Yep.
There. Oh, no, that's still Johnny. How many mules does that thing make?
And then, how'd that get in there again, he says.
It's his pooch.
Don't knock it till you try it. Don't knock a PT Cruiser engine until you know how to build one. 400 plus with a turbo on pump gas and only 4 cylinders.
Oh, I know. Richard Holdner, he's all into those. And Ben from the car farm, he was on the dyno with a Neon with a 4-cylinder turbo. Made pretty impressive power. I was impressed. I think they were over 400 at the tire.
Ooh. So here's Derek Zedek.
Yeah, Derek's car.
And it's a 68 Firebird 400, originally from California, with
nice car.
Green. It was originally green with a gold vinyl top.
That's pretty good.
Original drivetrain was in car. Now DCI rebuilt a 406 ProFlow 4, a TKX, I'm assuming transmission.
Yep, 5-speed. Yep.
336 Posi. You guys have the list.
Yeah.
Owner since 1983.
Wow. Oh, nice. I didn't know you owned a car that long. Very nice. I like that wheel choice, too.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Class of 84. Who's this?
That's still Derek.
Oh, is it?
Yep.
Oh, it looks like he's had a few Firebirds in.
That's a Grand Prix, isn't it?
And that's a Catalina, it looks like.
Oh, Catalina?
Yeah.
Oh, that was what Grandpa had. Yeah,
Yep.
that's right.
Looks like a 73 Catalina. Yeah. 67 GTO convertible.
So, yep.
He's had a few Pontiacs. Nice.
Yeah, huh? So there's Derek's rides. Here's John Dornbush.
Uh-oh, what's he got? Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Yep. That thing, that's his pride and joy. He's going to build a 400 Pontiac engine for that, too.
Okay.
I think it has a Pontiac engine in it, but it's ailing right now, and he's got to do some work to it. Interior's nice in that
I was going to say, very nice interior.
Yeah.
Got the Tin Indian head in there.
Nice. I like it.
Yep. I like that because that's like a Boyd Connington look almost.
I like the 30s cars and 40s cars. They're just good-looking cars. Got a lot of curves.
And here we go. John Dornbush, or Philip III, I'm sorry. There it is. Ooh, yeah.
There's little Phil there.
Now are those is that turboed or is that just
Supercharged?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I don't know if this is a GTP or which one.
And
which one?
could that come either war on those cars?
No, you
Or
could.
is it just
They just
supercharged?
made a supercharged version.
Because that was one of those exact same colors. What hit my tree in the front yard at one of my.
Now there's little John Dornbush.
Yep.
Whenever he was a baby. I'm not kidding either.
Philip III.
Oh, I thought that was John Dornbush because he's got a picture like that too.
Oh, no.
And you know what? You're right. Phil did share that picture with me.
Philip
I remember
III,
that now.
Dad's Oldsmobile.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then look at how small the vet is in comparison. That one didn't come in.
Yeah.
Too much content. It said content.
So this is pretty cool, guys. You guys want to share your pictures of your hot rods with us, or engine projects, or whatever you got. Obviously, you can see Phil's been sharing his 4-cylinder cylinder heads with us.
Yep.
So whatever you guys are working on, send us your pictures.
Absolutely. So we're all caught up with the emails. And then he's telling us to watch a YouTube video.
Okay.
Okay.
This one?
Let's
Yep.
see here.
He must be putting it in. Oh, so he followed the instructions
right?
perfectly.
Oh, crap.
Oh,
There you go.
there it is.
Now you
Okay,
got it on the right side. Okay. Yep, it didn't flip over though.
Nice. Now it's going to start all over.
Oh man, you got to tear it all back apart and redo it.
Yep. And thankfully his wife was there to
Oh,
capture
there,
it all.
you got
Okay.
You did get it right.
You got that little
That must
carport
be his, the
hook tent
keep baby Phil in,
finally put up.
or his Corvette. I'm not sure which.
I had a little problem with the assembly process, but yeah, let's check it out.
Yeah, that's funny. But yeah, share your photos, guys.
Yep. Or videos.
That way we can pick on you guys, not just Phil and
Yep.
John Dornbush
That's right.
and Walt Beanie.
We like to spread.
Yeah, we want to spread the joy.
Yep.
We don't-
New
we're not-
England Dragway. That's their home track. That's what it's called.
Okay, I couldn't remember what the heck the name of it was.
So, but no, yeah, guys, it is dcimotorsportsunleashed at yahoo.com. The link is still in the description. So if you guys have any pictures of what you're working on or videos of you guys building carports upside down, send them to me, and we're gonna have to make like a section in our show just for that, so that way we get to it every week.
Well, you know what? I don't mind running over a half hour if the guys want to hang around and look at the pictures. You know, there's nothing wrong with
I
that.
mean, they're still
Okay.
hanging around. We only
Yep.
lost 3 viewers. So.
Yeah, so I mean, if everybody wants to hang around and do that, that's fine.
Yep.
And I mean, it's hard to cram everything into an hour anyway. I mean, realistically, we probably should be doing it for 2 hours. So
Yeah, and then you'll be saying 3 hours, and next
no,
thing
no,
you know,
no, no. We're
It's
gonna
gonna be
cut it
10
off.
It's
So
gonna be 10
you
o'clock before we
know,
get
not
in.
unless I'm gonna bring my sleeping bag.
next thing you know, we're gonna be waking up and just doing 8-hour shows.
Hey, well, if we can make money doing that, I'm all in.
Old School Twist did send some. I think you were part of the original. Trying to go back here.
Yeah, how do you know which ones are pictures? I don't even know how you know that.
Well, usually it has like this little thing right here.
On the rate?
Yeah,
Okay.
and they like Walt said, test pick and car picture. John
Well,
Walt
they
said car
say,
picture.
yeah, make sure you put a description of what you got in there in the email so we know what it is.
Yeah, because if not, I'll have my dad open them all up, and if it's like you guys in a thong or something,
Yeah. Ooh, ooh.
that way
Yeah.
my dad sees it, and I won't be scarred for life.
I don't want to be scarred. I like these guys and all, but I don't think I want to see them in thongs.
Oh, our camera's off.
Yep. But yeah, so like I said, I don't mind running over a half hour. If we get pictures in there and that everybody wants to show them off, let's do it.
I didn't see any.
Oh, okay. Old
There it
School
is.
Twist right here. We go.
So what he sent us. I know he's working on a car for his wife, and I think he's got a project he's working on too.
For some reason, it didn't come through though.
Huh.
Depends
Your
on
message-
how he sent it.
Your
So-
message wasn't delivered to DCI Motorsports Unleashed at yahoo.com because the address couldn't be found or it is unable to receive mail.
Our address or his address?
I think our address.
That's weird.
That is weird.
They go up one more. I think there was one more on above that one, just to make sure.
Oh, that's an ad. Yeah.
Well, I'll have to-
Try it again, Old School Twist, and I'll see if I can look at it later.
And then we
And
can share it next week, hopefully.
yeah, and we'll share it next week for sure. If not, I'll email you back and say, hey, I didn't get it, and we can try again. I don't know why it's not working. That's weird.
Technology. I
Yep.
love it. It's like everything. It's going to have glitches.
Oh, yeah.
But,
So, well,
all right, guys. Well, I think that pretty much gives us a wrap
yeah,
tonight.
it does.
So,
So hopefully you guys learned some.
and what we'll do is next week we'll hang out with the Raven team and
Yep.
see what they got going on and where they're, what's going on with their race car.
Ken, if you are on a desktop, it's a lot easier to do if you have the pictures on your desktop already. But if you have your email set up on your phone, then you can attach pictures. There should be like a little button that looks like a paper clip. You click on that and it should bring up your gallery, and then you can pick what pictures you want to put in to send to us. And I think you're limited to, depending on how good the quality of the picture is and how big it is, you're limited to a certain amount that you can send.
It'll ask you to resize it.
Yeah.
Yeah, check to make sure before you try to send it if it needs resized. I've done that several times.
Yeah, but it's a lot easier on the computer because with a computer you can see everything better. You click on attach or the little icon looks like a paper clip, and then it'll go to like your desktop if you have pictures on there, and you can just drag those pictures right onto the email that you're trying to write to me.
Or sometimes just double click them, it'll go there too.
Nope, no paper clip. Look for an attached. Let me see here.
My paper clip's always down at the bottom left side, at the bottom of the email.
Yeah, so if you can see the screen right here, it says attach files.
Yep.
It's like a squiggly line. I call it a paper clip, but it's like
is
a
a paper
squiggly.
clip. It's an attachment. That's why.
Yep. So if you have Yahoo, it will be down here when you hit compose a new message. AOL, I think's in the top.
Yeah, I think Gmail's the same thing.
So
Gmail is at the top because I just got my Gmail account going. So yeah, I got a new email address, guys, which I just got it yesterday. So I keep forgetting to tell everybody we're changing our email to dcimotorsportsinc at gmail.com. Was dcimotorsports at sbcglobal.net, which is a really long one and it's old fashioned.
Yep.
So I've been getting my chops busted long enough. Now we're coming into the 19th century.
we're getting there, guys. We're getting there.
I got a couple centuries to catch up yet, but I'm getting there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so dcimotorsportsinc at gmail.com.
Which I will have to change on the YouTube page.
Okay.
But the email for the YouTube channel is DCI, D as in dog, C as in cat, I as in investigator, Motorsports Unleashed at yahoo.com. And it's in the description. And then my dad's new website will be in the description as well. Once this is over, I will
Website,
change it.
you mean email?
Website.
Oh.
And well, I'm assuming that your email is going to be the same, right?
My website's dcimotorsports.com.
Right.
Yeah. So.
All right. Well, guys, thanks for hanging with us.
Yep. Thanks for all coming back. I appreciate it.
Yep.
We appreciate it, I should say. And we look forward to seeing everybody next week.
Yes, absolutely. So thanks and stay safe, everyone. And we will see you all next week.